Right, it's been a few days, or weeks, and I still really haven't made up my mind on what to do with the ceiling. But what I do know is that I need room to maneuver in here. So those big plywood sheets need to go here. Now I've bought these fence posts, the 4x4 inch fence posts, to build a sturdy workbench, and they've been out here in the garage since I bought them earlier this year, and even in here, which is relatively humid, they're still corkscrewing, like the wood's getting all twisty and bowy. So I'm going to put those outside into my ad hoc timber straightening station. It's gotten pretty rainy, again because of course we're in autumn, so I'm hoping that if they soak up a little bit of water, they'll become more malleable again and I can straighten the timber out a bit. And also, especially when it comes to those 4x4 fence posts, if I want to put them into a workbench which is pretty rectangular and that wood isn't, I'm a bit scared that putting those massive timber screws that I have in those will split the wood. So I'd like it yeah, a bit wet and more malleable. And I'm back in night mode. I was just in here during the day earlier because it was nice sunny outside, and I wanted to make the best of that. So that pile of wood there is just cut-offs and salvaged wood. Most of it is pretty unusable. It's split during removal or during pulling nails out. That's mostly for the firewood pile, but still it's in the way, so it's got to go. Now that's a bit better, but it's still terribly dirty from when I took the ceiling down. This area here, and especially down there, where I have my fence posts. Much better already, much cleaner. Now I'm gonna have a look at that. That's my stack of leftover 18mm OSB tongue and groove, and tons of scrap wood, tools and loose dirt on top of it. So I am going to clean that off first, and then I'm going to move the whole stack over there. No, not there. Down here. So there it is. And we're just coming up to midnight. So I'm going to turn off the lights and pack it in for the day. And speaking of damp in here, it's currently pissing it down outside. And I've noticed these damp patches here in the concrete floor. Well, that definitely is coming in through the ground or through the floor. There is some damp proof in here, but what this also does is it gives me some anxiety as to what the concrete floor in this whole garage is like. I really do hope that whatever careless idiot slapped this garage together, and I'm not using that term lightly looking at the ceiling joists, that they at least gave the concrete foundations for the floor a proper damp proof to insulate it from rising damp, because if they didn't, and there's not ever a hope in keeping this place dry, I think. Finally getting to the good stuff. These here are 4x3s, and these are intended for my heavy duty tool wall, just to have a little more stability. So I'm going to move these guys over there. And the last thing for tonight, anything between this timber here and that far side of the window case over there, all of that will need to be moved down. So finally, without all this garbage piling up in this half of the room, I can actually get a feel for how much space there's going to be. Right then, let's take a look. So it's midnight, Friday night, 5 degrees Celsius and 85% relative humidity in here. it's pretty unpleasant. It just illustrates something's up with this garage. Anyway, I've come to a decision regarding the floor that I'm standing on, which is very bouncy, like a trampoline. This is going to go, and I'm going to replace this with proper 9x3 joists. That's going to be a while though. I'm not quite sure when I'm going to order the wood. Until then, of course, I need to once again shift all this stuff and clear the floor so I can start picking up the floorboards and taking out joists and everything in my own time, so I don't have to rush this. Just do it piece by piece. So just as a quick reminder what upstairs here looks like. A lot of random crap lying around, a lot of old timber that's there in the corners, PVC piping and insulation material. So all of this I'll have to shift out of here so that I can start picking up the floorboards, and that's yeah, that's going to take me a good long time. I'm not going to be time-lapsing this because it's probably boring to watch. The interesting bit is really once this is completely empty, floorboards up, joists out, and then waiting for the replacements. So simultaneous with the floorboards coming out upstairs and some of the last stuff removed upstairs is I have to put myself a kind of like a storage workbench here and another one on the other side over there that I can use as double storage and free up some of the floor area here. That is of course going to be complicated somewhat by the fact that there is this rounded sort of, I don't know what it is, corner there between the floor and the wall. So if I want anything to sit flush against the wall here, that wouldn't be possible because of that. Now this is just a little bit of I guess plaster or yeah. So what this is, there's I don't know, there's timber here, could be a 2x4 that I think they've just put down as framing to then pour the screed or concrete into that makes the floor now. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to hammer all of this out, take out the timber, mix some concrete and fill this out with that, and then close it back up at the top, and then I should be able to put on some permanent benches here, because once I have them in, since they're going to be 3 meters long and about 60 centimeters deep, I don't want to be moving them afterwards. They're going to be fairly heavy, so anything I need to do to the floor that needs to happen before. So I'm going to make a start on this as well, parallel to whatever I still have to remove from upstairs. So I finally managed to wrangle this, I believe, a 2x2 piece of timber out of this gap here, and this green piece of fabric there, or material rather than fabric, because this is plastic. That's the damp-proof course that is under this concrete floor and goes into the exterior wall, and that's meant to keep the damp from wicking through the concrete and from rising up in the wall. So that of course stays in. So what I'm going to do next, I'm going to check this for any holes or leaks or whatever, patch those up with probably butyl tape, and then I'm going to mix myself some concrete and fill this in. And could I have not done it? Probably. My issue is that, of course, a piece of timber in there has quite a bit of bounce and flex in it. And I didn't want to put concrete on top of timber because there's always the issue of cracking. Again, because the timber moves, contracting, expanding, and that's why I wanted to remove it. I don't know if that's a wise course of action, but then again, I've never seen anything like this, where I guess before they poured the screed in here to make the floor, where they run a timber frame around the room and then pour the concrete. I've never seen anything like it. It's concrete, whatever barrier you have under the foundation. And then there's the damp-proof course, and then more concrete. Timber, to the best of my knowledge, it just does not enter the picture, and that's why I'm removing it. If anyone actually happens to watch these videos, who knows why the timber is there or has a valid reason, I beg of you, let me know what it is and if I'm doing something wrong, but I can't see it, so I'll just keep removing timber and filling this in with concrete. And now that that side is finished, I'm doing this side over here so that I only have to mix concrete once and get both sides finished in one fell swoop. I didn't finish on the other side, but getting this timber out of here is a bit of an undertaking. There's a few nails here and there that are sitting half in this and half in the concrete. It's all a bit frustrating, but this is not just one big long piece of timber. There is a joint here, so this is one piece, there's another. So what I'm going to do to try and lift this out is I'm just going to make a hole with a spade about here, and that should enable me to then hopefully lift this piece out and then somehow try and slide the remainder of this piece, slide it over here at an angle and pull it out somehow. I'll just have to see. Now, of course, there's only 2 holes. I would still have to cut the rest, but I don't want to go in here with a multi-tool because that would damage the damp-proof course, which I would then have to patch again. Don't want to do that, so I'll just try and use brute force in the shape of this crowbar. There's some movement there. That's promising. Is the camera picking this up? Almost 90% humidity in here, and 8 degrees. That's too cold. Too cold to paint the floor. Oh, hello. And of course, while I'm downstairs fiddling with the floor, the evacuation up here continues apace, and I'd say 2/3, possibly 3/4 of the garage are now clear. Probably a bit murky on the camera, but it should still show that this is now all just floorboards, apart from whatever is right up here still. Problem with that, of course, is that down here is filling up again and is turning into an absolute pigsty after I had cleared half the garage of everything, or of anything that was in there. But yeah, stuff's got to go somewhere. Still a damn shame. I just really cannot wait to get some order into this chaos. Wonder if tonight's the night. Nope, still too cold. That paint's not going to cure properly. Anyway, the timber bits are out. I vacuumed most of the nasty debris that was in there. I now have the issue that, of course, the damp-proof course here is ripped in quite a few places where nails are holding, like the timber battens down and attached to this wall. By prying up those battens, unfortunately, I ripped the damp-proof course. So now I'll have to try and patch that up as best I can. With, I guess this is flashing tape. Oh Jesus, this stinks! My God. Ooh, I did not expect this. In any case, to make sure that this flashing tape or butyl tape or what's this called? Yeah, whatever, who cares. That this sticks to the damp-proof course that is there. What I need to do is I'll have to give this a little wipe down with, I don't know, probably white spirit, because it's quite dirty. There's dried cement everywhere. To give the butyl tape as clean a surface to adhere to and hopefully make a seal. That's the plan. And this is the tape. It's been not one, but 2 nights that I've had this patch on there now, and it seems to be holding up pretty well. So I'm going to go ahead. I've already cleaned all the other bits where I need to patch up with some butyl tape, and now that I know it's holding on at least for a couple of days, it's probably going to hold on a little bit longer still, enough for me to patch all this up and fill it with concrete. So that's what I'm going to do tonight. I'm going to get all of these holes here patched up and closed off, and then hopefully on the weekend I'll get the concrete in there. So it's 6 degrees in here, down there where the concrete will go, and it's not going to be any warmer, I don't think, for at least a week. Long-term forecast is 2 weeks to come, so I've decided I'm just going to go for it as long as the temperature in here don't go below freezing, and to be fair, they never even go to freezing. I think it should be alright starting to put concrete in there and to close this back up. Now, instead of mixing cement, sand and water together, 3 components, I'm just going to go with ready mixed concrete. Whatever. It's probably not the best solution, but it's what I have, it's what's quickest, it's what I can do in the middle of the night in the garage. Alright then, that's one side done, and it's pretty much the whole length. So 1 bucket of this ready mixed concrete is just about enough to cover the length. That's encouraging. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to get me another one of those screw containers full of water, and then once again mix it up until it gets to this semi-dry, near crumbly consistency, and then I'm going to do the other side. Right, it has been 2 nights, has it? I think it's been 2 nights. So this is, I think, pretty much cured now. I'm still going to give it a few more days, because it is low temperature and high humidity. So this might take a little longer to cook off and set. But overall, it's already gotten a few shades lighter. So whatever chemical process is working there to cure the concrete is definitely progressing. Same on the other side. Oh, this is really getting messy again. It is looking pretty good here too. Right then, the days are getting slowly warmer and so are the nights, so I think I'm not too far away from being able to paint the floor. Before I can do that though, I need to make a pass at grinding down my attempt at concreting a little bit, because it's pretty rough. The transition would look shit, and it's also sticking up a few millimeters over the rest of the floor, so any table I would build would sit at a slight slant. I don't want that, so I've got a grinding cap or whatever this is into this angle grinder, an extractor nozzle here. I'm going to put up my shop vac to it, and then I'm going to give grinding this down a try. Well, that little dust hood here is remarkably effective. There's barely any in the air, so that's good. What's not good is that I'm also cutting into this floor, so I'm just adding to my workload, because it looks like I'll now have to pour in a little bit of leveling compound to make up for the bits that I'm grinding out. That's not ideal, but it's still doable. I really just prefer not to have to do that. Right, so I've mixed myself some cement gunk, and now I shall attempt to close this gap, and hopefully it'll work. So that's sort of sanded back the what was this again? Oh, tile adhesive. No, actually I did use skim coat after all. The tile adhesive I'm now going to mix into a really runny, watery consistency. And then I'm going to pour this down here as leveling compound, because I don't have leveling compound, and these are really shallow, narrow strips, I guess, where the material needs to be brought up a little bit. And it just doesn't warrant getting a 25 kg bag at the moment, so I'll just use what I have, and then the consequences. And I'm almost certain that there will be consequences as of the type that's going to bite me in the arse later. This is my consistency that I've gone with. It's not completely watery, but this is pretty damn runny. Which is exactly what I want it to be. There are some minor clumps in there that I can't seem to get out or get to dissolve. And maybe they're air bubbles, can't really tell. I certainly do hope that this will do the trick. The butchery continues. It probably doesn't show on camera, but I'm crying inside. That's today's objective. Next I'm gonna paint this wall before I start putting up shelves in front of it. I want to know that the back behind it has a fresh coat of paint on it. There's already quite a difference after one coat, but I can still see the stains like they're there. I can still see them through the paint. And once again, even though there's going to be a shelf there, I'd just like to do one more coat, do it properly. If there's still some staining showing, I guess I'll just call it quits. In any case, one more coat, and then we're moving on to the floor. Now, 4 hours later, that's a pretty solid result on coat number 2. So I'll leave it there and I'll start cleaning and taping off the floor. Probably only going to be painting about 70 centimeters away from the wall, just under where the shelves are going to sit. They're going to be 60 centimeters deep. So I'm going to mark out the area so that I don't paint more than I absolutely have to at the moment. And that looks decent enough on camera. We'll check back tomorrow morning and evaluate the success of this undertaking. There isn't a whole lot of daylight today because it's grey outside and raining. But even with what there is, the grey floor doesn't look too bad. Definitely classes better than the old one. In any case, just to make sure I have good even coverage, I'm going to give us a second coat. And then I think I'll leave it there. Right, and there we are. I'm almost happy with how this looks. The happiest I can get, I guess. It doesn't need to be super pretty, there's still going to be a garage. And if this ever gets converted into a house, then I'm pretty sure that more work will be carried out. I'm just going to put a wall in front of the wall. I'll probably also increase the floor insulation. Not too bothered for a garage, this is pretty good. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to remove the masking tape, and then I'm probably just going to shift things around a little bit in the garage so that I have space to start putting together the workbench that's going to go here. But for the all intents and purposes of the actual preparation job, I think this is the end of this particular phase. And that's good.